The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet. And by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.
As our countdown to the 41st Breeders' Cup continues, I've realised I don't know quite as much about American racing as I thought. So we need a helping hand to steer us in the right direction. And who better than an Irishman who has turned his hand to being a hugely successful, multiple stakes-winning trainer stateside. Tim Shaw, welcome to the Final Furlong podcast.
Hello, Emmet. I finally made it in my life. I have made it.
If this is the pinnacle, we're going to have to get you into BetterHelp therapy. We'll sort you out, though, with the 10% discount code.
How many dark, rainy mornings on the way to training I've listened to the Final Furlong podcast in my truck, questioning my life goals.
Straight to the Breeders' Cup Classic in City of Troy. Obviously, he's a superstar. We know that. He's a 4-time Group 1 winner. I would say he's the best horse in the race, without a shadow of a doubt. He has the strongest form, for sure. But the big question is he going to handle the dirt? And what you've seen from him so far, striding out on the dirt at Del Mar, but also your experience of horses who have that mix of a dirt and turf pedigree and how they cope with the dirt. What is your overall opinion on City of Troy?
Guardedly optimistic. I mean, if you start with the pedigree, Justify out of a Galileo mare. Okay, well, there's mixed signals there, and if you look at him, I mean, the one thing about him is he's a very, very balanced horse. He's not an Adonis. He's not a standout in terms of Hollywood looks, but he's extremely balanced. And like you mentioned, we have a lot of video here, about 3 hours a day of all these Breeders' Cup horses on the track. So you get a good look at who's traveling well and who might not be handling it. You can never know for sure. But, the Justify is obviously going to help. The balance is going to help. And he looks like he is getting over the track really, really well. But I don't know, and I don't think Aidan truly knows in his heart, will he handle the dirt and the kickback? There's two factors there. He's drawn inside, and he's not going to go. He's not going to try and make the lead from the inside. There are faster horses, in this race. So he's going to have horses coming down and coming over on him and getting kickback and being comfortable in there. So he has to be comfortable with the kickback, but he also, I think what makes a turf horse dislike the dirt is that when you go from a surface where you can grab with your hind end, you can push with your hind end on the grass, on the all-weather at Kempton, it's a sticky surface. You can grab it and push. And sometimes these turf horses, when they grab it, and it's akin to like you running in deep sand in the summertime when it's dry and the sand breaks out and the sand breaks out and the sand breaks out, and you're struggling to get up on plane and you're expending all this energy to get up on plane. And then once you get there, you're at a bit of a disadvantage because you've used yourself so much. But City of Troy, he does seem different. And I have an enormous amount of respect for Aidan and the Coolmore team and what they're trying to do and the sportsmanship of doing it. And I'm rooting for him. But I think the short answer is I don't think anyone truly in their heart could be 100% confident that he's going to handle all that. I mean, if he does, he deserves to be the champion that they think he is,
Yeah, I would echo all of that. I think there's very much a fear of missing out thing with City of Troy as well, that I'm fascinated by the market. Like, it's one thing for him to be favored over here. That makes sense. He's the best horse in the race. He's the most recognizable name in the race as well. And it's a race that's generating massive interest. But to be morning line favorite stateside, I mean, if I had said to you, after he finished nearer last than first in the 2000 Guineas. That's the horse who's going to be favourite on this side of the pond and morning line favourite for the Classic. You'd have sectioned me. You'd have gone, no way. Is that almost a scathing indictment of the American dirt middle distance horses this season?
I would tend to agree with that. I would tend to agree with that. You wouldn't be far off. Yeah, I just don't think it's. If there was ever a time for them to take a shot, I think that this probably would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has worked out brilliantly. And just from a business perspective, because you do have to look at the bigger picture of things here. The reason City of Troy is not going to be racing as a 4-year-old is because his stallion rights are going to be worth so much money, and he's so valuable as a stallion. They need to put him in, and also they want. Look at the horses in training sale, or the 2-year-old, the big Tattersall sale that we did a big feature on a couple of weeks ago. There were no justifies because they're in America. So you have that. You're now going to have this option of the most exciting new sire, potentially the heir to Galileo's throne. Well, here's his first major stallion son, and he's a Coolmore horse. That's going to be important to them as well. And there's obviously going to be people who want to breed to him. But the fact that they've announced that he's going to stand at feathered, that doesn't put me off. That's what they did with Giants Causeway. He spent his first year in Ireland, then transferred to America. So it makes sense they would do that if they choose to. What does interest me is they've also got Sierra Leone, and they just bought the stallion rights for Fierceness. Why would you do that if you're so confident that City of Troy is going to win the Classic?
Because all three are going to make money no matter what happens. And that's it. It's the juggernaut, isn't it? It is the juggernaut. But I think City of Troy is the diamond. He will be the new diamond of Coolmore if he can pull this off. And he might just be able to do it. It's going to be fascinating though, because he's drawn what, the down inside two or three, maybe three. Whew. And we spoke earlier about the pace of American racing and the way things go, and it will be it'll be hot from start to finish, and if he can overcome that, he'll deserve all the accolades that that Aidan's been throwing at him for the last 18 months. I mean, there's no question about it. But what can you get past Together Forever? Can you get past that he is a son of Together Forever?
Yeah.
Who Galileo. I mean, there are few Galileos that really have taken to dirt. There have been some, right? But I mean, you wouldn't really want to bet the mortgage on it. So,
no, and he hated it himself. He was 6th in the Classic, but it was his worst performance by far.
Yeah. So I do have a horse in the Classic, though.
Okay. Just before you give me that horse, how important is the pace going to be? Because I guess I'm going to kind of answer that question myself to a certain extent. 8 of the last 11 were won by a horse who wanted to be on the lead and had preference for it in the past. 11 of the last 25 were profiled as racehorses that preferred to race on the pace as opposed to, or at least on the lead. 12. The last 12 were second or better in the early stretch. So the race is pretty much, you're going to effectively know who's going to win it rounding the first turn. If you're prominently positioned, your horse has got a chance. If you're not up with the pace, you're going to be in trouble. Now, I think a lot of people, and maybe even me as a sucker is included in this, if they go a red-hot pace, Jeff is going 10 about Sierra Leone. About a horse of his talent, maybe that's just a carrot that's dangling a little bit too much. If I have one too many Bulmers on Saturday night, I might just go, I'll give this guy a chance again. But he's going to have to close from off the pace, and that doesn't seem to be something it can happen, but it's not very common in the Classic.
I think Sierra Leone, one day he's going to come rolling down and he's going to bite everyone, and it could be on Saturday. He has a strange habit of kind of getting close and then trying to lug in on other horses. He's been a little bit of a project for them, but he's had all the ability in the world in my mind, and I don't know. I mean, Fierceness is going to be close. Next is going to go to the lead. There will be horses going, and if not all of them are going to cook themselves, there will be survivors from the pace. But if you watch Sierra Leone, he is just absolutely skipping and bouncing over the track there. He looks $1 million. And one day, and it's probably going to be the day when you sleep on him, he will come rolling home, and he will get there, because he has all the ability in the world. He really, really has all the ability in the world. But in my heart, I'd like to see City of Troy win this, because I'm just a fan of the Coolmore operation. And one day I hope to go to Ballydoyle and walk around with Aidan and have a great old time. But I don't trust fierceness. There's something about fierceness. He's a talented horse. I don't trust him. Some of the others, Arthur's Ride.
Well, just on fierceness, the consistently inconsistent fierceness, doesn't he have a major problem here? And look, I could be completely wrong about this, and if I am, please correct me. But my impression of him is he really likes it when they crawl, and they are not going to crawl in this race. Yeah. They're going to go rapid from the get-go. And the one time he faced that kind of a pace scenario was the Kentucky Derby, and he hated it.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, so then Forever Young, I have a hard time grasping that Japanese form. I think the Japanese are coming, and they are a force to be reckoned with. And Forever Young, I mean, he ran great in the Kentucky Derby. He's only run once since May, by design or not. And then when you break it all down, a lot of the other horses in here I'd love to have in my barn, but in this particular event, I think that it all points to City of Troy and fierceness. I mean, Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone will be coming. He will be coming. He will be coming. And if you're going to get 10-1, you had best not sleep on him. I mean, look at his last 6 races: 2-1, 1-1, 4-1, 170-1, 4-5, less than 2-1. And the day you sleep on this horse, he will burn you and ruin your Saturday night. So I have a weird feeling. I will be rooting for City of Troy, and what's wrong with the City of Troy, Forever Young, Sierra Leone type of
trifecta?
Type of a trifecta there. I mean, I think it's a fascinating race, though.
Oh, it's compelling stuff, and this is one we'll mention tomorrow with Tim and Paul as well. But 12 of the last 25 Breeders' Cup Classic winners have made their final prep race in New York, which would bring in fierceness, but it also brings in Highland Falls. And there's so many different strands of storyline that you can go for. The irony of Coolmore's own Sierra Leone downing the Coolmore hot pot in City of Troy. The irony of the old enemy, Godolphin, coming and beating both Coolmore horses, particularly City of Troy and Highland Falls. And this is a horse who Brad Cox has been bringing along steadily. He was really, really good in New York the last day.
He really was. He ran a good. I mean, he win by 4, Jockey Club. I mean, you know what? They're all going to have to catch Next, and if they don't respect Next, he's a grade 2 type of horse. He's beating up on lesser company, but he has fierce speed, and if they don't respect Next, I don't. They better respect him too.
Next is 16-1. I mean, I know it's nosebleed territory for the Americans racing over 12 furlongs and 14 furlongs. I joke, I kid. But he is a prolific marathon performer. Does he have the tactical speed to drop back to 10 and win?
That's a good question. You can't discount him.
No.
I know the connections were they almost talked themselves into this. I don't think they were very, very keen on this until after the Greenwood Cup here at Parks, and then they figured they would take a shot. But when you have a horse that wins by these margins, on a track that we all talk about speed favoring, they're going to have. I have a feeling they're going to have to catch him. I don't know. Even cutting back to 1.25 miles, I'm not sure who's going to run with him early, and I'm not sure who's going to want to run with him early. they might just say, well, Next is going to go, but he's really a grade 2 horse and he'll come back to us. And, he might not.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not a horse you can sleep on by any stretch of the imagination.
He might not.
He's not helped by the draw. They did think about going for the Breeders' Cup Turf. They almost went first preference turf, but in the end they decided no, Classic. They haven't been helped by the draw, but he's a very, very talented horse. Look, I think I'm with you. I hope City of Troy wins. It would be an incredible thing to see. And
yeah, I do too.
The fact that they've been talking about this horse since he made his debut, like this has been the next big star from Ballydoyle. And I know you've heard it before. I know, but he's done it. Like, he is the star. And to get there and to be this close to doing it would be some story. It's Aidan O'Brien's 15th attempt at winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. It would be incredible if he goes and does it. I really hope he does. Do I want to take 7-4? No, I don't.
And the thing about City of Troy is he doesn't appear a big horse, but apparently when you stand into him, he's much bigger. So
I think that we have to put our heart to one side. If you can't get enjoyment out of City of Troy winning the Breeders' Cup Classic without having a bet on him, then this is the wrong sport for you. But if you want to make some money, take some of Jeff Banks' cash, then I think we got to be hard-headed about this. And Forever Young is the scumbag each-way play here. The Gerline said it on the podcast a year ago. You're saying it now again. I think it is the theme. The Japanese are taking over. They are coming. And this horse has been given a lovely prep. He really should be unbeaten. He probably should have won the Kentucky Derby. He was very unlucky. He blows the start and then gets leaned all over by Sierra Leone. And he is the each-way play in the race as well. Sierra Leone is, as you said, he's going to be rolling all the way to the line. Yeah. It might be a little bit too late for him, but he surely hits the board. So maybe
at 10-1, if they let him go at 10-1, I mean, you have to get on there a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Now, it's entirely possible that Tim and Paul come on the show tomorrow and they both go, you're both totally wrong. You're two lunatics. You don't know what you're talking about. City of Troy goes and wins, in which case we change our tune. But right now, I think this is a scumbag each-way bet scenario on Forever Young and Sierra Leone, and you're doing the exotics, the trifectas and the exactas, Forever Young, Sierra Leone, City of Troy. Let's shoot the lights out, and I actually will probably do Forever Young, Sierra Leone, Highland Falls trifecta.
All right, why not? Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's see how that one works out, shall we?
Hey Kennedy, I'm trying to get a bet on with a bookie for the Breeders' Cup, but Betfair are the absolute worst. Do you reckon the old black market thing would be worth a try?
Don't go to the black market. Do you want to lose a kneecap? Also, you couldn't be guaranteed you'll actually get paid out in your winnings. Do not use the black market.
All right, I hadn't thought of that. But listen, what do I do then?
It's simple. Go to jeffbanks.bet, use the promo code FFP500 and get up to £500 refunded as real money after your first month of betting.
Jeff Banks, eh? But is he sound like?
Yes, he's sound. He's an actual independent bookmaker, and his prices are based on opinions, not just whatever the algorithm tells the traders. So it's even more satisfying when you beat him because you were right, he was wrong, and you're taking Jeff Banks' money.
Oh, I like that by beating the old bookie!
jeffbanks.bet, use the promo code FFP500 and get up to £500 refunded after your first month of betting with jeffbanks.bet. Now, can you stop interrupting the podcast and let me get back to the show?
Chalk it down, lad. Get on the old gravy train!
Future Champions Night, Breeders' Cup, the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Aidan O'Brien, we're both of the opinion will definitely be in the winner's enclosure with Lake Victoria, who is the most talented 2-year-old to go to the Breeders' Cup since Johannesburg. As long as she's able to get out of stall one in one piece, which I think she should be able to, she will murder this lot.
I don't think there's anyone even close in this race. I just don't see anyone even close here. And I don't think there's anything more to say. I mean, she'll work out a trip. She's patient. She's tactable. She can go, stop, turn. What else do you want her to do? So I think it's Lake Victoria. And that's where it begins and ends. Send it in.
Unbeaten in 4. You're getting 6-5, which is an industry best price with Jeff Banks' bet. You will not get 6-5 on the night, I don't think. Lake Victoria, how far? That's the only question. How far does she win by? And then the big question for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf is which of the Euros is going to win, because I'm super confident that the best horse in the race is Henri Matisse. I have no idea which Henri Matisse is going to turn up. And if Aidan is right about them sending him to the Breeders' Cup to try and knock the nonsense out of him, whether that's going to work or not, I love that quote from him. But stall 13 is...
He'll have to just break and get to the rail and work through. But who better to work through than his pilot, though, right? I mean, He knows his way through and thread the needle. He'll saving ground from out there in these tight turns. The turns come up on you so quick, and the turns are so sharp that if you have any thoughts of not going to lead, which obviously probably that's not going to happen, you cannot be 5-6 wide going into the turn. You need to get down, save ground, and trust that hole's going to open. Just same way with Auguste Rodin last year, right? Wasn't that ride? Didn't he come up the inside last year and got the job done in a tactical masterclass, right?
Christian Demuro did it as a massive favor by going off the rail on Sherar.
Yeah. But he got through, right? So they know their way through. The Euros know their way through. They know how to be patient. They know how to be tactical, and I think it. Can you put a double on the Juvenile Fillies and the Juvenile? Lake Victoria Matisse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You might be able to buy a beer with your $4, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see if Jeff will be generous enough to extend the max bet to beyond $4. Although if you're trying to log in from America, that might be a tricky enough one. Use a VPN. If you're listening to this in America, you might very well have got the NordVPN. Is it NordVPN or ExpressVPN? Which of the two is it?
Those are
ExpressVPN. Don't mind the other one. ExpressVPN. That's our sponsor.
Sketchy stuff. Come on now.
Yeah. It's all about watching the NFL on NBC Direct. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
I understand. I understand.
I do think that Al Quadra is the more interesting of the Godolphin horses. I'm pretty certain he's better than Canada, and I'm pretty sure, I was talking to Rishi Prasad yesterday, he was doing some great interviews on track for Breakfast of the Breeders' Cup. I'm pretty certain Charlie Appleby was saying all of his horses in Woodbine were just wrong at the time. They weren't quite right. So perhaps you can ignore that run. I think he was a little bit unlucky with the way it played out, and hopefully he's going to be better. Let's switch to the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Torpedo Anna is going to be one of the strongest favourites of the entire meeting. She's currently a 7-4 on shot with Jeff Banks bet. Awesome result. Now for the Japanese, a 5-1 shot, Raging Sea 11-2. Most people are just going to see this horse as a point and shoot job with that form with fierceness, but you see things slightly differently, Tim.
I do. So I have enormous amount of respect for Torpedo Anna. What a wonderful year she's had. She ran here in her last start at Parks Racing, where I am, and I thought that particular race was a bit workmanlike. I thought maybe she should have won, maybe with a little bit more authority, but at the same point, you don't know what Kenny McPeak had in mind. Did he not need her at her best on that particular day with the Breeders' Cup Distaff in mind? And that being said, this surface over here at Parks is a deeper track than most horses are used to. It's a looser, cuppier surface, and some horses struggle to really get a hold of it. And I thought she should have won a little bit more authority than she did that day, but she still got it done. But then when you go and you say to yourself, okay, she should have won. Was it the track? Was it by design? But at the same point, she had a real tough race in the Travers against Fierceness, where she gutted herself and nearly won, one of the premier 3-year-old, boys open races in the country. Did that take something out of her? Did that affect her in some way? Did it leave a mark in some way? And just in the same way we talked about City of Troy, I'm rooting for Torpedo Anna because I think she's a great story and a wonderful horse. But is there a chink in the armor there? If you watch some of the Breeders' Cup TV coverage from Del Mar, she galloped this morning, and I saw the video, and she looked tremendous. So are you going to take 4 to 5 on her, or will you go searching for value somewhere? And I think I'm going to go searching for value with Awesome Patriot, the Japanese again. A daughter of Justify, who's done nothing wrong in Japan. And again, when you watch the coverage from Del Mar, some horses just seem to exude class and exude confidence and exude that bloom that you want to see. And there's really nothing not to like when you watch her and everything she's doing. So are you going to take 4 to 5 on Torpedo Anna, or the 4 to 1, possibly 5 to 1 on Awesome Patriot? Because I think Torpedo Anna will get a lot of the popular Torpedo Anna money.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts there. What are your thoughts?
This is a race I will bow to your superior knowledge and Paul and Tim's superior knowledge.
I have superior knowledge. Anything I am.
This is the Fillies on dirt on a mile 1 at Del Mar. I'm leaving that to you guys. Awesome result. Yutakitaki on board. I mean, look, he gets bashed by the British media. That guy's a phenomenal jockey who's won more Group 1s and Grade 1s than most jockeys combined.
It would be fun to see Yutakitaki win a Breeders' Cup race, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I heard him referred to as how could you fancy it was on another podcast previewing the Arc. How could you fancy that Alrifa with the windbreaker riding him? Oh, God. All right. Not my words. I think that might have been Johnny Deneen, actually. Absolute legend. All right, let's head on to the Breeders' Cup Turf, shall we? This is a race I do know a fair bit more about. It's the last one I'm going to talk to you about before we let you get back to the barn in Pennsylvania. A mile 4 Longines Breeders' Cup Turf, and the favourite is the winner from 2 years ago, Rebels Romance, who did us a big favour on the show that year. 11-4, Emily Upjohn. She's been a fantastic horse. She doesn't look the same horse this season, but she has good form for sure. 7-2, Luxembourg for the winning most trainer in the history of this race. Aidan O'Brien, a 5-1 shot. JRB, Brian Meehan's horses rarely get respect when they travel. They should. He's won this race before, a 6-1 shot. Shera, who ran a big race in this a year ago, but no match for Rebels Romance in Dubai earlier in the year. And Wingspan, if there is a horse from the Ballydoyle battalion that has been catching the eye at Del Mar, it's her. She looks a picture in the morning, and she's been really sparkling in her workouts. The question is she good enough? Because this does scream afterthought.
It does. And when you look at a horse like her with all the ability and the talent and the future in the world, and then you say Rebels Romance, well, I don't think there's much to talk about there, right? I mean, look, I love Wingspan. I'm also one of the people that thought she looked phenomenal. A filly against the boys with a resume like Rebels Romance. I think it's tough sledding there. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for her, but this water might be just a bit deep.
Yeah, she's been given stall 10. Howard was telling us from the HHH podcast, which is a show that did really well on both Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So thank you to everybody who watched that and listened to it. I'm on his show next week, and hopefully we'll have some fun. But he was saying that you want a low draw, and she has not got that. She's been drawn in stall 10. I don't think there was any chance that Ryan Moore wasn't going to ride Luxembourg in this race once he was the one who was confirmed for it. But on a positive side, she didn't race as a 2-year-old. Every single run she has progressed from one to the next, and that was a career best effort on Champions Day. It just does seem like you've run a really big race there. The experience will do you good. If you win, great, fantastic. If you place, you increase your value, but it's not like this has been her target. Whereas for Luxembourg, I think this has been his target.
Yes, sir. And I love when you spoke to Aidan the other day, and he readily admitted, and we all know that Luxembourg played second fiddle, right? He played pacemaker all year, and he's here on his own merits, right? So if he's not forced out to make pace and forced out to do this, and he can run his own race, why can't a horse like Luxembourg run very well here, right? I like Luxembourg. I really do.
But
he is the Ballydoyle second string, no matter what you say. Now, there's a horse in here named Farbridge, who has won his last two for Christophe Clement.
Sorry, I think your signal broke up there. Did you say Farbridge?
I know.
You're not going to talk up Farbridge beating the best of Europe in this, are you?
What time? If I text you Irish time when this race is over and Farbridge crows, what would it be, about 1 a.m.?
No, it'll be about 9:05. It'll be about 9:05. Unless you want to wait for to be counting your winnings and then send me a picture of you just holding a load of cash going, told you.
I'm not a huge gambler, but it's one of those things where I always try and look who's the favorite and who's the value. Now, Rebel's Romance, he's 6 years old. No 6-year-old has ever won this race. Yada yada yada. Rebel's Romance is a win machine. He's an absolute win machine, and there'll be no price on him, right? I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of value there. The value would be in Luxembourg and the horse named Farbridge, who had a fairly lackluster summer, but gets Joao Rosario his last two starts. Did he beat much? Well, he beat Measure Time and Silver Knot, who are probably Charlie Appleby's second string. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. I'd say they're Group 2 horses. Rebel's Romance is a genuine, proper Group 1 horse.
So who did he beat? Were those weaker renditions of those two Grade 1s in New York? And they very well may have been, but he could be a horse that is coming in with confidence. Now, I think 6-1 might be a little bit light. I mean, 10-1 is probably fair, but
we can get you 10s.
I think he will. I think he could surprise, and I like Rebel's Romance. I think is going to win this race. Do not discount Charlie Appleby at the Breeders' Cup. Do not. And I think that Farbridge and Luxembourg, I don't think either one will be very far behind. But I think it goes through those three. If
I wanted to back you up, I could say, look at the Racing Post ratings. Rebel's Romance is 117 behind Goliath in a mess of a race that wasn't really good to firm ground, according to Aidan O'Brien, then I agree with them. But 123, 120, 120 are the RPOs either side of that. Luxembourg 124, 119 for his peaks. It was 103 at Ascot when he's bombed out. And again, it wasn't good to firm ground. If it was, he wouldn't have blown out that way. Farbridge 119, 123. Now here's the little caveat that I have. I don't know what the hell the Godolphin team of jockeys were doing in Saratoga, but they were both awful. And they're both very, very talented jockeys. Flavian Pratt is a great jockey. William Buick is one of the best in the world. They were horrible. They allowed Farbridge to control the race from the front end, and both of them just went, yeah, okay, you do all the donkey work. One of them should at least have gone to the front end and go, okay, we'll control it. And at least either I win it from the front or my stablemate does. I don't know what they were doing there. That was horrible. So he's benefited from that. And then the last day, he's beaten Silver Knot. I mean, he's a Group 3 horse, really. And Warlike Goddess just is not. If she was lining up, she'd get lapped in this. She'll have her chance in the Filly and Mare Turf, but her chance to win a Breeders' Cup race has come and gone, essentially. She's a lovely horse, but she's not a genuine Grade 1 performer. Certainly not to European standards, anyway.
How do you think they're going to ride Luxembourg? Will they let him fall in and find his pace and finish, or will Luxembourg, he's so used to making that pace for everybody else, he's probably going to want to be forwardly placed, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. I would be very surprised if he doesn't at least sit second or third.
Yeah.
Might not make all, but he'll be handy.
And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing. That's perfect, right? I mean, if he can do it comfortably, he's been pressed for pace now to make pace for other horses and done this and done that. If he's left alone and to run his own race, why wouldn't he be able to be very dangerous at whatever he is, 12-1 now?
If he's 12-1, he's an absolute stone cold solid moral at that price. You're getting 5s.
See now. I thought it was early. Wasn't the morning line 12-1, or am I crazy?
He's probably 12-1 stateside, because I think the Americans will take a look at him and go, well, he hasn't. Anytime he's traveled, he's been beaten. I think that race in Hong Kong was a massive effort. Romantic Warrior has gone on to win 3 Group 1s since then, in his own beaten in the 3 runs. He's a Group 1 winner at 2, 3, 4, and 5. His best performance this year was undoubtedly the Coronation Cup. Now, that's a race that didn't work out particularly well. Hamish has been horrible since. Emily Upjohn would have zero chance with Luxembourg if you take that form literally. I don't think you can. He was definitely a pacemaker in the King George, and he was at least ridden on the front end, forcing a strong gallop in the Irish Champion Stakes. But he's not beaten far by economics and
could be
Augusta
two lengths to economics and Auguste Rodin. I mean, so let's boil it down. Let's keep this simple. You're going to give me 12-1 stateside on an Aidan O'Brien horse ridden by Ryan Moore, who's going to actually be allowed to run his own race this time.
In a very weak version of the Breeders' Cup Turf, which is the race Aidan O'Brien has won. Aidan O'Brien is the only trainer in Breeders' Cup history to win a race 7 times.
Yeah. So sign me up.
Yeah.
That's what sign me up.
I think it's almost too obvious. And he's well drawn in stall 4 as well. I love Rebels Romance. I don't like the draw in 11. He was a big price when he won this for James Doyle a couple of years ago. He's just not now. And that 6-year-old stat that Howard had, that frightened me. It really did. JRB's the young, interesting, dynamic horse who could be anything, and he's well drawn in stall 5. I would not be laying him at 11-2. No way.
When you talk about Rebels Romance, I mean, 6-year-old or not, he still seems to be kind of the same horse, doesn't he?
Oh, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I love this horse, and I'm a big admirer of Charlie Appleby. The man has sent 20 runners to the Breeders' Cup. 10 of them have won. He's batting 500. It's just absolutely insane. And the original plan, from what I understand, is Japan Cup, and they altered it to come back to the Breeders' Cup. So, look, he deserves to be favourite. He's the one they all have to beat, but I think that's a winnable race. Is your final selection going to be Farbridge?
No.
I talked him out of it! Oh, no, if he goes and wins.
It's Luxembourg. But I think Farbridge will be in the trifecta. I really do. Rebels Romance, Luxembourg, and Farbridge.
Okay, I'm liking that. That 10-1 stateside, if you can get the 10-1 stateside, that's too big a price.
He's 12-1 morning line.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. For the winning most trainer in the history of the Breeders' Cup Turf, that's an absolutely bonkers price. Ryan Moore on board, good night and good luck. Any other business for the Breeders' Cup for Tim?
No, but I'd like to talk about like John Bon and Jerry Colomb and Galopin Deschamps and Allaho. And when do we talk about that? Come on, let's go.
Next week on the Final Furlong podcast, it's a jump special with US trainer Tim Shaw.
State Man versus Constitution Hill. Come on, let's go.
As somebody who works with racehorses every day, how do you feel about Constitution Hill coming back this season? How nervous should we be?
I think there's more to the story. I don't know what it is, but I think there's more. There's bad luck and then there's bad luck. And, I'm fascinated by that whole thing because, they get accused of, keeping them in the cotton wool and the bubble wrap and let them run and let them run and let them run. You kind of curious as to what the real bottom line story is about Constitution Hill. Because when he's good, boy, he is really good. But I think State Man is wow, we really are getting onto this now, are we? We're supposed to be talking Breeders' Cup. State Man is just a beast, isn't he? He just inhales. He just goes through hurdles. He goes over hurdles. He doesn't care. He just gets through and gets it done. And he's kind of like that big brash boy. And I think Constitution Hill is that, little pretty boy. He might be a little bit fragile. Will he come back this year? I think he'll be back once. But how long he stays around?
Yeah.
You can't keep a Ferrari in the barn because you don't want to get it dirty, right? There's got to be a reason. You can't stay sick all winter, can you?
Oh, I want to steal that line and pass it off as my own.
Can you stay sick all winter? I don't know. But hey, it might have been very, very careful handling and very, very bad luck. But I'm fascinated to kind of kind of get on with it, you know.
I really enjoyed this, Tim. Please God, we get to talk to you again
thank you.
very, very soon. And listen, best of luck for the weekend, and also enjoy the Breeders' Cup.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for listening and watching this episode of the Final Furlong podcast. If you haven't hit the like button already, come on, hit the like button on YouTube. It's a massive help to us with the algorithm, and the subscribe button on YouTube and all podcast apps as well. You can listen to this episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all good podcast apps, and some rubbish ones too. From Tim Shaw and me, Emmet Kennedy. We'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet. And by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.